Krishna devotees, Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, and Text 8. So let's get started. Yasya tattva vedar adhilokanatho lokan alokan saha lokapalan achiklapad hi sarva sattva nikhaya bhedo dhikritah pratita. Can read again. Yes tattva vedar adhilokanatho lokan alokan saha lokapalan achiklapad hi sarva sattva nikhaya bhedo dhikritah pratitah. So synonyms: ye, by whom; tattva, truth; bhede, by differentiation; adhilokanatha, the king of the kings; lokan, planets; alokan, planets of the lower region; saha, along with; lokapalan, respective kings; achiklapad, planned; yatra, wherein; he, certainly; sarva, all; sattva, existence; nikhaya, living entities; bheda, difference; adhikrita, occupied; pratita, it so appears. Translation: the Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of habitation where living entities are situated in terms of the modes of nature and work, and he has created their different kings and rulers. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna is the chief king of all kings, and he has created different planets for all kinds of living entities. Even on this planet, there are different places for inhabitation by different types of men. There are places like deserts, islands, and valleys in mountainous countries. And in each of them, there are different kinds of men, born of different modes of nature according to their past deeds. There are people in the Arabian deserts and in the valleys of the Himalayan mountains, and the inhabitants of these two places differ from one another, just as the inhabitants of the islands also differ from them. Similarly, there are also different planets. The planets below the earth, down to the Patala planets, are full of various kinds of living beings. No planet is vacant, as wrongly imagined by the so-called scientist. In Bhagavad Gita, we find it is said by the Lord that the living entities are sarvagata, or present in every sphere of life. So there is no doubt that on other planets, there are also inhabitants like us, sometimes with greater intelligence and greater opulence. The living conditions for those of greater intelligence are more luxurious than on this earth. There are also planets where no sunlight reaches, and there are living entities who must live there due to their past deeds. All these plans for living conditions are made by the Supreme Lord, and Vidura requested Maitreya to describe this for the sake of further enlightenment. So very beautiful verse, and let's get started. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, okay. So today we have 3.5.8 Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's very interesting, the translation and the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So once more, I'm just reading the translation. It says, the Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of habitation where living entities are situated in terms of modes of nature and work, and he has created their different kings and rulers. So this particular verse is talking about, how much diversity we have, in our creation, and how Lord Krishna has created different planets, different types of living entities according to modes of nature as well as their past deeds. And then there are different rulers and kings. So even if we think about it, sometimes how everything is in such a perfect balance. For instance, living entities like us, we are breathing in oxygen, and we are giving out carbon dioxide. And then we have the plants who are breathing in the carbon dioxide, and they're giving out oxygen, right? Just the opposite. So we see that there's such a balance, because we are one type of living entity, and the plants also are living. And so there is so much of harmony, and so like the plant, we need the plants so that we can get our oxygen. And what is happening today is, so many forests are being cut down, like Amazon forest, for paper and for other things. And the ecological balance is being disturbed, in the earth. And that is the cause of great concern, because ultimately, when Lord Krishna has created this world, he has thought of like a perfect harmony. And it is human beings, we have to really think about this, have green areas and so on, so that because what Lord Krishna created is perfect, and different entities have different requirements. But, sometimes we humans don't think about it, and we disturb the ecological balance. And also, I was reading somewhere that, that in the volcano, sometimes, ammonia gas has been spotted. And even in that ammonia gas, actually, there are microorganisms who live there. So for us, those gases are like poisonous, but there are living entities that are living there. So the point of it is that different living entities have different requirements, and it's not necessary that what is life for us is what's sustains how we sustain life. It's different from other entities. And everything Lord Krishna has very thoughtfully created, and in a very nice way. So, we should always be very, very cognizant of the fact, and, not try to disturb the ecological balance. Then only, life will survive in its true form. So that's one point that is, and of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has emphasized on two different things. One is, he says, in our earth, like in our planets itself, there are so many different types of living entities, like you go to the deserts, and then you go to Himalayan forests, and then you go to the mountains and Icelands, and, everybody has like different type of people, different type of men in those locations. And then he's talking about the other planetary systems, other than the Earth, he's talking. And he's also saying that, 2 points that he's emphasizing over there. He says that actually there are some planets where people are much more intelligent. We kind of think that we are very intelligent, but there are much more intelligent people than us, or living entities than us. And then there are planets where, we take the sunlight for granted, and we can't live without sunlight. But there are planets where there's absolutely no sunlight. So that is also there. So there's so much of diversity is there, in the world. And that's what this particular thing is talking about. And even like we have planets like moon and sun, and they are considered heavenly planets. And Srila Prabhupada, he says that even there, actually, there is life. And I was reading this Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, very interesting. Once he was going on an evening walk, with his disciples. And he looked at the moon planet, and he says, the moon planet is degrading, and we have to go to preach there. Obviously he saw something. His realization is more than us. So Srila Prabhupada also says that even in the moon, actually, there are people. Actually, he says that moon planet also, not people. I mean, what I meant is a living entity. And so I'm just kind of reading a little bit of there was a walk in April 18th, 1973. Srila Prabhupada was going with few devotees and a few people who had come from outside. And Srila Prabhupada said, even in the sun and moon, actually, there are living entities. What is the opinion of scientists? So there's one person called Dr. Singh. He says, they say there is no life there. Srila Prabhupada said that this is nonsense. There is life there. Srila Prabhupada says that why do they believe that? The moon planet is covered with dust, but within the dust, the living entities can live. And then, he brings up the point, which is in the purport of this verse. In this verse, he's mentioning that that the living entities are sarvagata, or present in every sphere of life. That is what he's, mentioning in our verse that we are dealing today. And then he's talking about it here. Also in his walk, he says, therefore the Vedas describe he says that every atmosphere is suitable for life, any atmosphere. Therefore, the Vedas describe the living entities as sarvagata, which means existing in all circumstances. So that's what Srila Prabhupada was saying. This is his belief, and he even put it down over here, that present in every sphere of life. And of course, he says it's like more like the frog story. Frog only knows about his well, but when he's told about the Atlantic Ocean, he just asks, oh, is the Atlantic Ocean 10 times more? He can't it's beyond his comprehension. So there are certain things that we as human beings, we are in a certain dimension. Some things we can understand, some things scientists try to understand, but some things are just beyond us, because we cannot go in that dimension. So Srila Prabhupada is taking things that are written in the Vedas, or and then he's explaining that actually there are living entities present in every sphere of life, and he explains it very nicely. And another thing is, another important point that is made in this particular today's translation and purport is that we are born, we are all under the control of different modes of material nature. And according to the modes and material nature that we are in, and according to our past deeds, we are awarded a particular kind of body. And this body need not be the same from life, in different lifetimes. And for just describing the three modes in some detail, in case anybody here may not know of it. So there are three modes, and they are called gunas. Actually, the word guna means rope, because they bind us. We are, when we come into this world, we get under the influence of these modes. So the first is the sattva guna, which is the mode of goodness. And any person who's primarily under this mode is very honest, peaceful, religious, and spiritual minded, always happy, not always, but happy, I could say. And then depending on how much of the mode of goodness one is in. Then we have the rajoguna, which is the mode of passion, where you have like, okay, I have to be famous, I have to get wealth. Again, always in like competition mode, envy mode, and anxiety, distress. And then you have the mode of ignorance, where one is very lazy, or intoxication, anger, cruelty to others, and all those things. So when we are born, we are under these, we come under the influence of these three modes. And it's very difficult to get out of them, actually, unless, of course, we seek Lord Krishna's help. And then, of course, it may be easy to transcend. But for most of us on planet Earth, we are very, very much under these three, and actually everywhere in all these planets, we are under the modes of, influenced by the modes. So and we'll talk more about this later. But first, I just wanted to, because this talks about today's purport and verse talks more about the different types of habitation, planets, and all. I don't want to go too much into the technicalities, but I do want to touch on it, because since this verse touches about it, and later in the Bhagavatam, of course, we can go into more detail. But this picture that I'm showing here is that there are 3 layered planetary systems and 14 worlds according to the Bhagavatam. And this is the artist impression of the 3 worlds. One is the higher, the middle, and the lower world, it is said, in the universe that we know of. And Srimad Bhagavatam actually talks about it too in many, many different places. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19-23, it is said that there are 3 planetary systems, namely the lower worlds, the intermediate worlds, and the upper worlds. The human beings are situated in the beginning of the intermediate worlds, but living beings like Brahma and contemporaries live in the upper worlds, of which the topmost is Satyaloka. And in Satyaloka, the inhabitants are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom, and then thus the mystic cloud of material energy is cleared. So, the topmost worlds are in the mode of goodness, like Brahma is in Brahmaloka, right? And we who are in the earthly planet, we are mostly in the mode of passion. And the lower worlds is mostly in the mode of tamoguna, that is the mode of ignorance. And I just want to briefly just touch on one of the, So this picture over here, it tells us about the different planets, and and it tells us, like, we are in Bhurloka, right? And then we have 6 planets more above us. That is Bhuvarloka, Svarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. And then we had 7 planets below us, that is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. So we have all these planets that is below us. We are somewhere in the middle, actually. And the upper planets, for example, upper planets are mostly, like I said, they are mostly in the mode of goodness. And we are, throughout one lifetime and another, we're going up and down according to our, deeds or whatever modes that we get in. We're going up and down, sometimes here, sometimes there. We keep on going, depending on, what we are, our performance is really. And then, we also see, it's very interesting, but the lower planets, like, it's said in the lower planets, we have mostly Rakshasas and demons who are living there. And it is said that the sunshine does not reach these planets, but they are illuminated by jewels fixed on the hood of snakes. So that is how the lower planets, some of these lower planets are illuminated. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is referring in our purport also, that sometimes sunlight does not reach. And then the upper planets, like, let us take, for example, the topmost planet, like, Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, as it is called. They're very pious people. They're very, very intelligent, much more than us. They're always engaged in devotional service. And there is no bereavement, no old age, and no anxieties. And they have a compassion towards others, who have not yet reached their level. So there are very, very intelligent people over there. And then we see also Srila Prabhupada, he says that there are so many living entities in the world. And he says that there are 8,400,000 forms of life. And even human beings are 400,000, actually, forms, actually, different forms. And also he gives a lot of statistics here, which I won't get into, but some are good to know. 900,000 species in water, 2 million non-living entities, and 1,100,000 species of insects and reptiles. So many different types, so many different species, actually, not that number. Swarup Damodar asks him, how are you sure about this 8,400,000 species? And Prabhupada says, because we have heard from authority. He says, what is the difficulty? Why are you asking me? You want to hear from me? I have heard from authority. You take it. That is what he says. Because these things are all there in our religious texts also, So, so that is the diversity that we have. And another very interesting thing is, of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in multiple verses, it is mentioned, it's talking about these in multiple verses. And this is, of course, 1:15:12. And this verse is mostly talking about how Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Krishna, could go to the moon planet. But actually, even to go there, you have to have, perform sacrifice, giving charities, and undergoing severe austerities. And in the heavenly planets, he talks about how the inhabitants are all highly intelligent. And coming to, of course, Arjuna, kind of yesterday I was actually saw something very interesting because in Bhagavad Gita, no, not in the Mahabharata war, we see, Duryodhan was faced with the choice, okay, you take Lord Krishna or the armies. And Duryodhan had everything, he had a lot of things. He had material wealth, he had a lot of things, and Krishna even gave army for the war. And the Pandavas had only Lord Krishna. So sometimes the devotees of the Lord are put into a lot of trouble, they are put into a lot of trouble, you see. And but the thing is, Krishna is always with them, no matter what, because they are devotees. And the people who do not believe, they may have a lot of things. It looks like they have a lot of things, but they don't have Lord Krishna. So, so what's the point? So, and then, I'm talking about this because we'll see how to transcend the modes of nature, and, what is required. And obviously, Lord Krishna itself is required in order to do that. So going back to the planetary systems, different parts of the planetary systems are different parts of the Lord. Like this Srimad Bhagavatam verse is talking about how the lower planetary systems are his legs, middle, the navel, and the higher is the chest. So it's all part of the Lord. No matter what, it is part of the Lord. Okay. So, and then what happens is even the purport is talking about like Siddha Loka and different planets. So if we go to Siddha Loka, there people can fly here and there, and they have great yogic powers. And Prabhupada is telling the story of even in here, one yogi friend, he says, used to visit my father in Kolkata. The yogi told him that he would simply touch down his guru and he would travel from Calcutta to Dwarka in 2 minutes. So like people have different capabilities is what I'm trying to say in different planets. So now, I just want to spend a few minutes like, okay, we are born in these different planets going up and down, and according to the modes of nature. And Bhagavad Gita verse is, it tells us that this particular verse, 7.14, it says, Devi hi isa gunamayi mama maya duratya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite, that this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that's the thing, the modes are very difficult, because when we come here, even as devotees, we see sometimes, that there's so much of, there may be friction, and the ego comes into the play, and then envy comes into the play. That is all mode of passion, and that is why we are here on this earth, because primarily under the mode of passion. Actually, we're a mixture of modes, but in earth, it is primarily under mode of passion. How to get over there, how to get out of that, because even when we go to the workplace, we have to be sometimes in the mode of passion. So, but Krishna gives a formula. He says that those who surrender unto me, they can overcome it. That the formula is that you have to be fully surrendered to Krishna. There is actually no other way. And And even in Bhagavad Gita, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is 4:22:36. It says over here that by our activities, we can go to a higher planet, and we may enjoy like tremendous benefit by going over there, and we may be really happy. But even though we elevate ourselves to the highest planetary system by the scientific advancement of knowledge or by religious principles, that is great sacrifices and fruit of activities, at the time of dissolution, these higher planetary systems and life on them will be destroyed. We will not be protected. Our bodies, either in this planet or another planet, will be destroyed. And then we have to remain for millions of years in the body of Mahavishnu. And then when creation is manifested, we take birth in different species and begin our activities. Therefore, we should not be satisfied just by being promoted to the higher planets. We should be get out of this spiritual world, and that is the highest achievement. And so this whole thing, like going up and down this planetary systems, it doesn't serve any purpose. And that's like our acharyas has given us like plenty of good things that we can do. And even in Srimad Bhagavatam, in so many places it is referred, like for instance, in 5:26:37, it's referring to the Bhagavad Gita verse. One way is like this, like in Bhagavad Gita, it is said in 4.9, Janma karma chami divyam evam yo veti tatvata tvattva deham punarjanma neti mam eti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So if like this is talking about like Krishna Katha, and it's talking about, being aware of who Lord Krishna is. So that is another point is, if we focus on that. And also Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that, worshipping, that is one who worship the demigods, they take birth in the demigods. Those who worship to the ancestors go there to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits take birth there among the beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Krishna has specifically said that in the Bhagavad Gita. So worshipping Lord Krishna, and of course, Bhagavad Gita, it ends with the surrender verse to Lord Krishna. That is, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. That is this very famous verse. That is, Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mamekam Sharanam Varajaya. That is, Mamekam Sharanam Varajaya means me takes shelter of me. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayasyami Masucha. That Krishna will protect. So coming back to the verse, actually the verse today that we have, it's just talking about like how, according to the material modes of material nature, and according to our past deeds, we are placed in different, planets. And that mainly the verse is talking about the diversity, like how there are so many different types of beings. Some of them are more intelligent than us. Some places which are, where even sunlight doesn't come. And even in our earth, we have like, so many diverse locations where we can live in deserts where, where one kind of people, then we have Himalayan areas, one kind of people. And all this has been created by Lord Krishna itself. And so, I mean, after reading this verse and all, Lord Krishna always takes care of his devotees. So we should just keep taking our baby steps with full faith, keep developing our faith one at a time. And it's a whole process. It's a lot of self-examination, at times, as what we are doing wrong at the end of the day, and trying to correct ourselves and taking these baby steps. And one should not get overwhelmed by this. One should just take one step, like how a baby is taking one step at a time. Baby cannot suddenly become an adult. So take one step, and as long as you're surrendering to Lord Krishna or on working on enhancing that surrender, I think we're good. I think anything is possible. But of course, this verse is beautiful because Lord Krishna is supporting, after all, everybody. There's no one who he leaves behind. No matter which planet we're on. So that's all I have. Any observations, any comments, any questions? Please feel free to share. Okay, if not anything, then I thank you for attending the class, and Hare Krishna. And we can, conclude here. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.